In 2024, 1 in 5 electric vehicle drivers pulled into a public charging station and left without charging their car. Not because they ran out of time, not because they changed their mind, because the charger did not work. According to J.D. Power, 20% of EV drivers who visited public charging stations in the fourth quarter of 2024 were unable to charge their vehicles, with out-of-service equipment accounting for 62% of those failed visits, J.D. Power. That number did not appear overnight. It has been climbing for years, and it is only one symptom of a much larger problem that the industry does not want you to understand before you sign the purchase agreement. The electric vehicle revolution was real. The promise was legitimate: cleaner transportation, lower running costs, a simpler ownership experience. What happened between the promise and the showroom floor is the story nobody in the marketing department will tell you. The majority of electric vehicles available today were not engineered to deliver that promise. They were engineered to capture the moment, to take your money while the government subsidies were available, while the media excitement was high, and while you did not yet have enough real-world data to know the difference between a vehicle built to last and a vehicle built to sell. Not every manufacturer fell into that trap. 3 did not. We will get to them, but first you need to understand what the other 90% are actually selling you. The problem starts with something no salesperson will ever discuss with you at the closing table: depreciation. Electric vehicles lose an average of 58.8% of their value over 5 years, compared to 45.6% for gas-powered cars. On a $60,000 electric vehicle, that is a $35,300 loss. A comparable internal combustion vehicle drops roughly $27,300 over the same period. Autoblog. That $8,000 gap does not appear on any window sticker. It is not part of any dealer presentation, but it is real, and it will arrive the day you try to trade that vehicle in or sell it privately. The depreciation problem is not random, it is structural. The rapid pace of EV technology advancements means newer models often have longer ranges, better features, and improved efficiency, making older models less desirable. And EVs depreciate faster than gas-powered vehicles due to technology changes more than any other single factor: sheer comfort. When you buy one of the 90% today, you're not just buying a depreciating asset, you're buying an asset whose depreciation is accelerated by the same manufacturer who sold it to you, releasing a better version in 18 months. They win twice: once when you buy, once when you are forced to upgrade. Then there's the charging infrastructure problem. The promise of electric vehicle ownership is that fuel becomes cheaper and the experience becomes simpler than filling a gas tank. That promise depends entirely on a public network that functions when you need it. That network does not function reliably for most brands. When Charger Help technicians inspected 4,800 charge points in the field, they found that more than 10% of them were marked as online but were in fact unable to complete a test charge. Canary Media. The app on your phone tells you the charger is ready. The technician standing in front of it tells a different story. Software consistently overestimates station uptime, point-in-time status, and the ability to successfully charge a vehicle. Canary Media. For a driver without reliable home charging access, and millions of Americans live in apartments, condominiums, and rental properties where home charging is not an option, the public network is not a backup, it is the only plan. And for most EV brands, that plan fails 1 in 5 times. When you do charge at a public fast charger, there is a second cost almost nobody models into their purchase decision. If you are paying 56 cents per kilowatt hour at an Electrify America station in California during peak hours, you may end up paying as much as or more than it would cost to fill an equivalent gasoline-powered car. Inside EVs. The fuel savings advertised in the brochure were calculated based on home charging rates in favorable markets. They were not calculated based on what a driver in a high electricity cost market pays at a fast charger during peak demand hours. You were shown a best-case number and told it was typical.
Add cold weather to this calculation. Fully electric vehicles typically lose an average of 41% of their range when outdoor temperatures drop to 20 degrees Fahrenheit and the cabin heater is running, according to AAA researchers, NBC News. The EPA window sticker does not display a winter range figure alongside the standard range. It shows you one number tested at optimal temperature and leaves the cold weather penalty buried in footnotes that nobody reads at the dealership. Consumer Reports testing found that EV driving range dropped by about 25% during highway cruising in sub-freezing weather compared to mild conditions. Consumer Reports. The vehicle you budgeted around a 300-mile range becomes a 180-mile vehicle on the coldest days of the year, the same days when charging infrastructure is slowest and least reliable. The battery warranty does not protect you the way you assume it does. Federal law mandates a minimum 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on EV batteries, SolarTech. That sounds comprehensive until you read the fine print. The warranty does not guarantee the range you purchased the vehicle for. It guarantees the battery retains at least 70% of its original capacity. A vehicle you bought for its 300-mile range is protected by warranty until the battery degrades to 210 miles. The 90 miles between what you paid for and what the legal floor protects is entirely your problem. And when the battery eventually requires replacement on a vehicle outside the 90% that got the engineering right, the number is not something most buyers ever see modeled into their purchase decision. EV battery replacement costs in 2025 typically range from $5,000 to $20,000, with significant variation based on vehicle type, battery capacity, and manufacturer, with labor adding another $1,000 to $3,000 on top. SolarTech. Some manufacturers are significantly worse. One customer was quoted $71,000 by a BMW dealership, Recurrent Auto, for a battery replacement on a discontinued model. That is not a malfunction. That is the service model on a vehicle whose manufacturer no longer has any incentive to keep the cost reasonable. The insurance industry has already done the math on the real cost of the 90%. On average, EV owners pay around $337 monthly for insurance compared to $281 for gas-powered vehicle owners, roughly $3,000 extra over 5 years. Autoblog. The reason is straightforward. EVs have specialized parts and require trained technicians, making repairs more expensive. Due to their newness on the market, aftermarket parts are still in early development, meaning owners often only have expensive OEM factory parts available. Sheer comfort. The manufacturer designed the service ecosystem to route back through the dealership. The dealership charges accordingly. You pay the premium. You have to stop shopping the badge and start auditing the engineering. The touchscreen is not the product. The depreciation curve, the charging network, the cold weather range, and the warranty structure are the product. And for 90% of what is on the market today, those 4 things were not designed in your interest. But not every manufacturer made the same calculation. 3 got it right. Here is the ranking.
Number 3 is the current 2025 Honda CR-V Hybrid, not the plug-in version, the conventional full hybrid. Consumer Reports calls the CR-V Hybrid one of the best small SUVs you can buy, praising its roomy cabin, excellent fuel economy, competent handling, and standard safety features. In EPA testing, the 2025 CR-V Hybrid achieves 43 miles per gallon in the city and 40 miles per gallon combined, without any charging infrastructure dependency, without any cold weather range penalty, and without any of the depreciation acceleration that plagues full battery electric vehicles. Consumer Reports rates the 2025 CR-V Hybrid as more reliable than other cars from the same model year. The hybrid battery in this vehicle is sized conservatively, thermally managed conservatively, and backed by decades of Honda 2-motor hybrid engineering that has been running without major systemic failures across millions of units worldwide. You are buying the bridge technology, the one that was built by engineers who understood the limits of where the infrastructure currently stands. Number 2 is the current 2025 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. J.D. Power gives the 2025 RAV4 Hybrid an 80 out of 100 quality and reliability rating, and IC Cars backs this with an 8.7 out of 10 reliability score, citing a projected 14.3-year lifespan and the ability to cover 172,778 miles without reliability issues. Consumer Reports expects the 2025 RAV4 Hybrid to be much more reliable than the average new car, a prediction based on data collected from 2022, 2023, and 2024 models. Toyota did not rush its hybrid architecture to market to chase an EV trend. The 2.5-liter four-cylinder hybrid system in this vehicle is a refinement of the same basic architecture Toyota has been validating in real-world conditions for nearly 15 years across Camrys and RAV4s. The battery degradation problem that destroys full electric vehicle resale values does not apply here in any practical ownership window. The charging infrastructure failure rate that strands full EV drivers does not apply here at all. You are getting the fuel economy benefit without accepting the infrastructure risk. That is not a compromise. That is the correct engineering decision for the current moment. Number 1 is the current 2025 Tesla Model 3 or Model Y bought new with home charging access confirmed before you sign. Tesla is the one full battery electric vehicle manufacturer that has done enough things right to be worth buying new in 2026. The reason is not the product alone, it is the vertical integration. The Tesla supercharger network ranks highest among DC fast chargers for the 4th consecutive year, and it is the only DC fast charger brand to consistently rank above the industry average in customer satisfaction. When you own a Tesla and need to charge away from home, you are using a network the manufacturer built, maintains, and has direct financial incentive to keep operational. That is a completely different ownership proposition than any other full EV brand on the market. The charging infrastructure risk that makes 90% of electric vehicles a questionable purchase does not apply to Tesla owners in the same way. Real-world data shows Tesla Model 3 battery packs losing under 10% of range after 4 to 5 years of typical use, and most real-world fleets report average state of health readings around 94 to 96%, even on high-mileage vehicles. The battery degradation story on Tesla vehicles at high mileage is among the most thoroughly documented in the industry. You know what you were buying. The failure modes are publicly understood. The parts ecosystem has had time to develop alternatives. Buy it new, take the full warranty, use home charging as your primary source and the supercharger network as your backup. Under those specific conditions, the math works. The revolution is not over. It is arriving on a slower timeline than the manufacturers needed it to for their quarterly earnings calls. The infrastructure is improving, the battery costs are falling, the engineering is getting better. But right now, in 2026, the market has 3 vehicles that were built honestly for the world as it actually exists, not for the world as the press release described it. The other 90% are counting on you not to know the difference between a charging network that works and one that only claims to. They are counting on you not to model the 5-year depreciation curve before you sign. They are counting on the ambient lighting and the 0 to 60 time to close the deal before you read the warranty document. Do not let them. The badge is a marketing decision. The engineering underneath it is what you are actually paying for.